Good morning. My name's Kim Page, and we're talking about the healing classes we've been giving each week. Now, these are healing classes for us. These are classes about how to help yourself be less reactive. Understand everyone. Now, when I see everyone, I'm not even sure there's anyone left besides everyone. Feels too much. You are feeling too much. It affects your nervous system. I've already talked about this in some of my other YouTubes, but it's critical to be able to sense things but not feel them. There's so many things you don't need to feel. And some of these things that you feel could be deadly to certain parts of your organs or body, especially if you feel something, it scares you internally, or you get frightened, or you get stressed, or you get worried, or you get concerned. It starts to have an effect on you. That's why I get so upset when somebody calls me and they say they heard that there's an entity, and an entity is a piece of something, of someone inside them. And it's not true. It is not true, okay? Okay, no one that you ever talked to has done 60,000 sessions one-on-one. It's pieces and fragments of ourself that are out of time. Does that make more sense? Pieces and fragments of ourself. So let's say we had a very bad car accident, or we had an operation. Did we piece of us fragment and start to watch? It's not quite integrated, and that's that part that we're looking for. But that's not what today is all about. It's just there's so many things that we got to stop looking at. On the other one, I just got a phone call, and this person says, I'm a Reiki Master. Never, ever, ever say you're a Reiki Master. Okay, it's like standing on the corner in the middle of New York and saying, I'm the best and I have the most talent in the world, screaming it out. Somebody's going to come take something. You're going to say, I'm a master of all the energy on earth. That's what you're saying. That's what spirit is hearing from you. So I don't even call myself a healer. I call myself a person who's learning to help myself. Now, I've done more Reiki attunements than anyone I know, about 350, 400. That was back in the 90s. Now, when I did the Reiki, I didn't teach about Reiki. Now you're saying, why do you mean you didn't teach about Reiki? I taught about energy, because that was the most important thing. See, if you can stay, you're about to get in a flow that passes through you. And you've seen it lots of times when you've been creative, or you've done something wonderful and you just feel so expansive and so alive. That's an energetics, okay? And that's the same thing that we would call Reiki. It's a power. It's a source of all power. But remember, the clearer you are, the easier it is. It's like all of a sudden, here's me, and I start to run energy, and it's like a jet plane, and that energy comes right through. What's it going to, what objects is it going to be? Is it my chest? Is it my heart? Is it my breathing? Is it my kidneys? What's the weakest part of your body? We all have one. Maybe not the weakest, but the most tender, or the one that reacts most, okay, to stress or to worries. That energy will affect that place. So the more, you don't want to do healing work until you've healed yourself, or until you find yourself not being reactive to all the energetics that are around. And I'm going to show you one today, a very, very big one that's around all the time. Now, one thing I found with doing Reiki, and I'm not criticizing Reiki because it's a wonderful thing when you find a balance, okay? Just like anything else, just like sports or any kind of thing you could do. When you find balance, it's more perfect than it is relying on somebody or needing somebody. But all of a sudden, when I'm doing Reiki, I started teaching people how to clear themselves. So for a weekend, I would do work on all the clearing techniques. And basically, it was these clearing techniques in this book. Now, this book is free on our website, and there's no tricks or anything. It's free. If you were to read this book, and if you were to do these I mean all the techniques. I don't mean one. Here's the greatest problem we have. We do sessions and we do work, and all we ask the people to do is learn to do the clearing techniques, learn to do how to connect to your higher self, read these things, and they don't have time. And so they have enough time to go for a weekend and spend several $100s learning about something, but they don't have time enough to take care of themselves, because we want to take care of others first. But we can't, because it's about healing ourselves, it's about healing our past, and it's about letting go of the things that are still holding on to us from the past, keeping us to attract these kind of people over and over and over again. That's the problem we have, is we're evolving, and we need to attract the kind of people that represent the kind of issues that we came in to learn. Now, I'll get into this one in the next session. But right now, what I would do is I found this book, and this book came out in 1995. And I'm not asking you to buy this book. I don't even know if they have this book anytime. Anyway, this is Barbara Stein's book. And it was the first time that all the information on Reiki was published. And I mean, there's so much information in here. It would take you weeks to learn it. But that's what other people try to do in a weekend. But they just be select. But you can't be select in these things. You have to understand everything. So what I did is I got them clear on energy. I got them a way of healing themselves to get them in the flow. I did the initiations with them. And then what I did is I gave them this test. Okay, these are all the questions in this book. If you could look up this book, if you knew where all these questions were, you could help anybody and help yourself. And then I said, once you've read this thing so thoroughly and you've done this test, you can be a Reiki Master. Because then I know I've done all the healing work, and I've given them all the tools so they can help their people they're working with to get clear. So one thing you don't want is somebody coming to you week after week after week to have an attunement, which basically you start taking your energy. Now you say, how do they do that? Well, it depends on how you feel, or what day it is, or if you got a phone call, or if your parents are connected, or somebody calls you, upsets you. You have to do work that interferes, and I'll show you that clearly in a minute or so. So that's what I did. I found this book, which was the first book out. Because remember, Reiki used to be secret. Reiki in my days, when I first started back in '86, to be a Reiki master cost $10,000, and it was secret. And then this book came out, and it had all the information in it. So I didn't have to teach that, because it was very, very, very self-explanatory in there. All I cared about is being clear. And it's the same thing I care about today. How clear are you? How non-reactive are you? So I'm going to put these things away here. Now, if you have any questions about this, send us an email, kenpage.com, and we'll answer it. But the main thing you want to do, and I've told you this before, in the healing class, the first one I said, you must do the healing techniques, because what it does is it lightens your vibration. Here's the simplest problem. And I'm going to read this. And this is the chart that I'm going to show you. Now, you're not going to be able to see it very well, and I apologize, but it's on our website. And if you go on and look on the newsletter on September 2007, it's there. Also, the charts are on their marketplace to view. Also, you can write us and we'll send them to you. So don't worry about it. But this is the chart we're going to talk about, okay? Now, this chart is so primitive because these are people, but there's pretty primitive people. But this chart is the most complicated chart. I have 8 of them. Most people could not even understand this. Most people could not grasp this. It took me a whole day to teach this. And I'm going to share this with you in a half an hour or so. Why? Because if you look at this, if you spend time with this, if you use your logic, if you use the situations you've got yourself into and how did you attract it and what did you get into? See, with Reiki, what happened, or energy work, what happens, is you get into something that the client has that is very, very heavy, such as a death or such as sickness or such as their attitude or their smoking, whatever, and that energy is passed on to you, you pick it up, and it scares you so bad you stop Reiki. That's why the average Reiki master, as you said, stops Reiki after 3 years. And again, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to learn and to have as a tool for yourself and for that connection to your higher self. Now, I'm not going to say again, it's not my nature to criticize other things. I just want to say I look at things a little bit different, okay? Because what I've done is I work with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Reiki masters that have been hurt and or stopped doing it. Or we got scared because they got into something that was so overwhelming to them. And that would scare any of us, right? Now, back to this technique, okay, or back to this chart. Now, one of the biggest problems we all have are, I don't want to say problems, I say challenges, okay? That do we know how to love ourselves more than we've been loved? And you have to think about this because this is absolutely critical. We do not. We only know what we've experienced. And remember, most of the times, your love has been conditional. You do this, I'll love you. You do this, I love you. But when you're in the flow, it's a flow that's unconditional. There are no conditions where the flow is coming through. If you have conditions internally or around you, but look what's around you. Maybe this is a little easier. Look what's around you. This is the person that is doing the healing. And maybe you're not going to be a healer, but you're going to help your family or help somebody that's sick. Look at all the things that are pulling on this individual. Their past family, their mother and father and brothers and sisters, that they pull on them, okay? And that's all this energetics around here, are all the different people pulling on us. And let me tell you, it's way, way more than this. Because if I made it the way it really was, you would just give up. And then you have all the different things, such as your culture, such as nationality, religion, male versus female. These are all situations. Then we have our children and their feelings and how old they are. Let's say we have a teenager going to high school. What kind of energy are they bringing home every day and dumping on you? Or let's say you have a husband or wife and they go off to some kind of job that's so intense and so upsetting, and they bring that energy home to you and they don't clear themselves or clear the family, and you start to process it. Or let's just say simple things like somebody's drinking and they dump that energy onto you, or they're smoking and they dump that energy onto you, or you're smoking. If you're smoking, would that affect this flow? You think about it. Okay, these answers are your answers, not mine. I'm just saying it's possible that this could have an effect on you. Now, we just got 2. Then we look at unresolved relationships. Big deal. And then we look at old work. And then we look at old friends. And then we look at your family, husband or wife, your children, Then we look at the people you're doing healing work with. Now, if you take all those people, they're starting to interfere with your flow. Now, this person is sick. Look at their flow being interfered by their sickness. But this person here has as many people as this one. I just didn't show it. Why repeat it? They have as many people. And what are these people doing? They're all saying, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. And this person's all not very well, and they think they have to help others. Now, here's the biggest problem. And this is how we're taught. I'm being as honest with you as I can. I'm not here to take your money. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm here to help. If this person tries to help this person, and let's don't say you're not a healer, let's just say you're helping your family or helping somebody that's sick or you're helping somebody. What do? We are told to send love. But I just told you we can only send love based on how we've been loved. That's been conditional, not unconditional. To heal this person, they need unconditional love. Do we have it? Do we understand it? Are we afraid of it? And when you say, well, that doesn't make sense. Yes. Can you love somebody that loves you more than you love them? How would that feel? Would that scare you? Would that take you out of your comfort zone? So many things, with the basic things, are complicated. Now, what happens? So there's two things here that you have to really look at that are important. And if you can study this chart, I mean really study this chart, read it, study it, and go back and study it and look at it and say, this is a possibility if we're evolving. This is a possibility if I'm here to heal myself, my past, my family, my DNA. This is the way it would work if you were healing a bigger picture of more people. Now, what's this person going to do is this person is going to send them love. But this person has cancer, and this person has all these people around them pulling on them. And they're not very clear with their higher self, right? The flow is blocked by all the things that are pulling on them. But that's true for all of us. I go to do healing work and I get a phone call from my brother saying there's something wrong with my mother, and I'm thinking that I've gone there in my mind and I now have to be clear. And there's 1,000 things that can happen, especially when you got work and you got situations and you got kids and you got all these things that are pulling, and all these things, situations about money or what culture you're in. So this person's going to send them love. And what does that do? Now, no one that I know out there teaching would agree with me at this point. No one. Why? Because they really haven't thought about it. They did what somebody else told them to do, and that's what they thought was the best. But remember, this person that told you to do something, just taken a weekend class and knows how to tell you. When you find somebody that has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, has been doing it for 30 years and still alive, under the worst type of energies you've seen all over the world, the worst type of war, the worst type of sickness, the worst type of hunger and disasters, the worst type of religious situations, the worst things you can imagine. We've been in it. And we got out without getting hurt too much. We got beat up a little bit. Why? Because of ideas. The more ideas you have, bigger trouble you're in. This person's sending this person energy. What it does is it could intensify what they've created. Now here's the big deal. Question: are we one or are we separate? Now, all kinds of classes that teach oneness, and I don't agree with any of them, because when you're going to be one, you're going to be one with everything. If I was one with everything, there would be no reaction. if I was separate from something with my fear would react inside me and I would attract people that reflected my fear. So loving yourself is the absolute key. And I don't mean you have to be perfect. I mean you have to be healthy with whatever weight you are, whatever nationality, whatever you are. Just be healthy and start to bring in happiness, start to bring in good feelings, start to be non-reactive to all these things that are pulling on us. Because every single person wants to be like, take you and be like you, because at that point they take your energy. I'm telling you folks, no one's teaching this. No one, because it's too hard to teach. So they say, gosh, this is too hard. I can teach about doing this, and it's simple, and I can get more people to do it and have workshops. But this is tough. Now, are we one or separate? If I'm one, then I'm not reactive. If I'm separate, I'm reactive. Does that affect this flow? Yes. But again, if 98% of all the energy outside us doesn't feel good, and I'm talking about all the different things that are happening in your state or your country or where you're from, and all the different dynamics and on the news and all the different things that are affecting us, we don't want to be one with. So it's constant practice. The second thing is, are we sending love or light? Are we sending energy? And what you're doing is you're sending energy. The love you send, and people are taught, send love to this person. Do not send love to anyone of a past relationship that you're out of. Because if you do, you're energetically tapped in on you and it will make you sick. I know you don't believe me, but I can tell you 20, 30,000 people have told me that. Just don't give them any energy. Don't think about them. Just let them be where they are. Now, what happens if this person has created this? Again, this person is it a creator or a victim? I guess they're a creator. Why do they create cancer? Maybe because they've been negative. Maybe they've been negative for 50 years, or they smoked, or they didn't take care of themselves, or they didn't eat right, or they didn't sleep right, or they were angry, or whatever. That energetics had built up to where it created cancer or created some kind of sickness in the weakest part of their body. So now that I sent energy to this person and they created it, not intentionally, but just think about it. Were their parents negative? Were their parents, like my parents, they were from the war? They had all that energy from the war. Pure killing energy from the war. And survival energy. That's what I was created by. Is that something I've had to work on? You bet. We all have to work on whatever energetics we've been around. So now, if I'm sending energy, do I intensify this relationship? Now, this is the part that is so scary. Now, what I want to do, just so I don't forget at this point, we just did a newsletter last night. The consciousness called energy, okay? It's a free it's free, okay? It just went out last night. You can go on our website and get it. Okay, it's free. Okay, if you need help, just write us and we'll send it to you. This is talking about this. But this is 3 pages. Now, here's the part that's scary. Is there a collective consciousness of cancer? What I mean by a collective consciousness, all the people who have had cancer for years and years and years, whatever, how long it's been, have they created an energetics of that vibration? of that sickness or that disease or that's whatever it was? Is there an energy of it? Now this is the scariest part that people don't want to look at in this. They just say this guy is full of baloney, and I don't want to look at this. Okay, the collective consciousness of cancer actually sense the cancer in that person and is attracted to them. Now you say, why? Does that cancer think this is a person that's creating them? Now you're going to say, that's so crazy, okay? Now what happens if that cancer is attracted to them? How does that affect all these people around this person? Especially when this person is telling them to do this, and this person is telling them to do this, and this person is telling them to do this. This person is pulled apart. They can't stay focused. So many people are they can't rest. Everybody wants to be sure that they do everything they can to save their life. But this is the scariest part. And this is the part why I was talking about Reiki. And Reiki, it could be energy work. It could be any kind of work. But look what happens. This person is sending love. And does cancer pick up that energy? And if it does, that's what hits that person. Not that they're going to get energy, not that they're going to get cancer, but all of a sudden they got a blast of something that made them sick. And it took 2 or 3 days before they felt better. And that's why they stopped teaching it. Because they got into something that was super, super scary. Because nobody ever tells you when you're doing energy work, there's scary stuff out there. Why? Because the world is pretty scary in some places, right? So what happens when we send love? Cancer picks that up. Now, what I do when I'm doing a class is I be sure that people aren't afraid of this. I don't want to leave people afraid. Like, oh my God, there's a collective consciousness of cancer, but is there a collective consciousness of war, of all sickness, of hunger, of all disasters, of all religion? See, those 5 things have killed every single person in history. So has it affected your DNA? Okay, your mother and father, their mother and father. It doesn't take many for they've been in war. Their mother and father, depending on where they are located in the world. And all the worries of pain and sadness and no food and hurt and don't know what's going to happen. Is that part of your DNA? Is that what we're healing? So I want to ask you something right now. What if I called into myself the whole collective consciousness of cancer into myself? You say, you're crazy. You're going to kill yourself. You can't do it. Now we're not talking about millions and millions and millions of people have cancer, but how about all the cancer people who have died? We're talking about hundreds of millions of energetics of it. I'm going to call that into myself. Now here's the thing. Am I one or am I separate from? This is the test you always ask yourself. Are you one or are you separate from every single thing? Now so that's why the biggest thing that Nancy and I do is we love ourselves to the best of our abilities. And I'm not perfect. I got a problem with this, I got a problem. But I love it. I am the best I can be. And I work at it. I work out, I eat properly, I sleep properly, I work at it, and I work over and over. But I still have to look at my faults and look at the things that are weak. And I worked 3 days out in the yard and had a hard time walking. I look at those things, still love it. Not other people in this community could do what I just did. So that's how I judge myself. So I'm going to call in all the cancer of the world into myself. And I want you to watch it. And you're saying right now, God, I'm sure glad I'm not around to this, and you won't be affected by it. It's just here, me, now. So I call into myself. Now really, really stay focused. And what I want you to do is kind of look right between my eyes. The best you can, just get right between my eyes. Now I call in all the cancer of the world into myself. All the cancer from my past, all the cancer that killed my family, other family. I call it here now, into me, just into me, all the cancer of the world. Now what happens is, if I do not react, and if I'm one with it, it doesn't affect me. If I was afraid, the fear I put up to block that, and that's what I get hurt by. But that takes practice and practice and practice. Do people tell you you have to practice, practice, practice before you go out and help somebody or help your family? Remember, you're helping yourself. And by helping yourself, you help your family. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to breathe in through your nose, blow out through your mouth. Breathe in, blow out. Breathe in, blow out. Now, when I've had classes, I've had 10,000 classes. At this point, after 3 breaths, everyone's clear in the room. Because I didn't say it was fearful to breathe. I just said breathe. And once you were open to breathe, it took the energetics away. Do you see what a blessing that could be? It's just the energetics of them all, the energetics of a lot of people, the energetics you can't go out, that things you can't be around, certain things. Can you imagine being free to do anything you wanted to do or do nothing? That's why this chart, I usually make it last because it's so difficult. I have 8 charts explaining different things, where we come from, how it come, how possibly the energy works, how we got to this place. This one I do the last. But these are the key part. Are you one? Are you separate? Are you a creator? Or are you a victim? Now, understand, there's many situations that we feel victimized by, right? We had a tornado here recently. Was I scared? Was I worried? Or just I have to let it go? So we all have things we have to face. Remember, you want to get this newsletter. The Consciousness Called Energy. It's April 2019. We just sent it out. You want to go on our website. You want to read these things, and you want to do the 4 clearing techniques. They're simple. They take 5 minutes a day, and it can change your life in 2 weeks. And it doesn't cost anything. What more do you want? It doesn't cost anything. But I'm telling you, people, it says do this and do this. No, I'm too busy to go do this. I can't do this. I can't. If you don't do these things, because each thing backs up the other thing, we're learning how to love ourselves. We're learning how to love that lower part of ourselves that has been overwhelmed by the energetics of life, we learn how to go into our pineal and find a different place to access our higher self. We learn how to be liquid light and to be that color. Because remember, if you can be liquid light, that's 70, 80% of you is liquid. You're more liquid than solid. Be liquid and then be light. What does that do? It buffers projections from people. And we have all that written in here, all that written what it does. And then changing the vibration of your name. Because many times people think of your name and think of you in the middle of the night or think of you in different times and affects you. It's how to change the vibration of your name. And then it's how to be in your pineal. 4 techniques. But in here is also how to get in touch with your higher self. I swear to you, within a few hours, you can communicate directly to your creative self. And you might want to ask, why is this happening to me? And the other one is lucid dreaming, finding out subconsciously patterns. Now, these are the things I want you to do, because I'm going to get back to teaching about how to be a healer or how to heal ourselves. And this is a much more intense class. And if you don't understand something, we have newsletters. We have newsletters for 13 or 14 years, every single month, 14 years on our website about every single topic. Just go on our website, go to the home page, Google whatever you want to find out, and you can get it free. But right now, the basics of this book, because we've just redone this book, and we've included everything we could imagine, because we had to update it. So I look forward to talking to you next week. And again, if you have any questions whatsoever, kenpage.com or clearlightarts.org. And look at our website, because there's 6,500 free pages. Anyway, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. And to me, I know this is going to sound silly to you, but this is life or death. This is you having more choices. This is you being free. This is you being happy. This is you possibly changing your past. How important is that? So you take care of yourself. Thank you.